Where's my bucks in my box?
You know, I didn't make any.
Oh, you didn't make it? Oh, okay,
Well,
good. I thought
do
I
you
saw
want
an
me to- do you
email
want me
from,
to-
I have like 2 days of email that I haven't even got to yet.
Do you want me, I mean, I can run these through the photocopier if you want. I could send the sheet along with the budget pages, and then of course I had also sent the warrants.
Okay.
What do you?
Yeah, I didn't make any part of it. Explanation.
And then you also
I mean, I
send
can run these through the
Yes.
photocopier if you want.
This is.
Quiet, I'll slow it down, so we're not debating with ourselves.
She didn't, it was on the computer.
It's okay.
You didn't get your email, Dan?
I probably did.
That's what, all right, so I thought you printed that. Hey,
It's okay. It's okay. I got it, Karen.
So while they're gone, Amy, two things. First, thank you so much for those incredible questions that you sent.
And I think Derek said he had several of them already.
He does, but thank you, those were fabulous. And second, we were just talking, we got news from Nicole for Husky last night. This is a budget review. That she has two bills coming up for hearings in the legislature on for. Last year, I don't know if you knew, but last year or 2 years ago, she did a bill to fund Fort George. It turned into a bill for $1 million to fund 20 historic parks that are not currently properly funded. It was passed, but it was appropriated. So this time she has she's going out two different directions.
Yeah.
And so the first bill will take testimony on April 1st. I'll send everybody all of the. And thought I would send it as well to Castine History Partners, to Historical Society, touring, all of those groups. And so you can send testimony. And if you think of anybody else that would require testimony or would pray, yes, pray. Yeah, so we'll get some back.
It's good news, huh, Bobby? It's good news about the school.
We can have, she wants us to get $50,000 a year. I think it was 3 years. That was the initial bill.
But that would make a big difference, $50,000 a year.
We could make it safe. Priority number one. And I will be going out Tuesday night. I will be out. You guys know? No,
Just so you know, I gotta go back to the dentist because with everything going on, I had that filling put in on Tuesday and it is not setting right. So I've been like biting on it, but it's starting to TMJ my jaw on this side because my bite's uneven.
and then, yeah, well, when you're sick, that's not a.
Well, yeah, I know, I'm like, well, it's driving me nuts, so I don't care at this point. Then I'm like, no, I don't dare to go in that far. All right. Why is this not turning on? I just had it on yesterday. Don't forget, you guys are on the thing. Don't forget, you guys are on YouTube. They're not paying attention.
And why?
I think it's Nancy's last, I think it's your last.
Right, so I'm happy to, are you, that would be great, we got, as you as liaison, that would be so wonderful, okay, thank you, and
I did it 3 times. It went forever.
yeah, that's great, that's wonderful. So, and, yeah, that's good,
I think that's a nice idea. You know, having a conference
and having a welcome from Selectboard is nice.
Thank you.
So I just did the. Oh, did you?
Are these what you would email us?
Yeah, so you
I'm
have
all
yours.
good. I got mine.
I got in my here,
If anybody does the warrant.
Is that mine over there?
Huh?
Is that mine over there? Just wanted me to take the extra steps, look like I can use the exercise.
I'll pull that. I have Okay.
Yeah, I have a copy of the warrant too, which is, I mean, it's
So-
precluded.
Hearing noted in what we talked about, that if we set the budget exactly like it is, we're looking at a 27.2. And that's a pretty huge tax increase, so it's gonna say my thinking on this. As much as I want everything in this budget, I think that this is a really difficult time to take a 28% tax and a 27% tax increase. We don't know, there are so many things we don't know going forward. We don't know the extent of the tariffs that are going to have on our residents. We don't know the extent that the lack of other funding is gonna help our residents.
So also a lot of people whose income is dependent upon the market,
Well,
which,
on the market and on social security, and we don't know what's gonna happen with social security, so we have
And
a.
tourism, I would
And
say.
tourism.
I was gonna say.
Who wants to come,
Right.
you know, I think there may be different choices to look at.
Yeah.
I think
Whether
we'll-
for Canada or something.
And then we'll make.
They, they've already have,
Won't travel within the
they
state.
already have statistics of how many fewer Canadians are coming. It's already hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So I gave you all, a copy, that's what I was pulling up, so I get some copy.
Is that, this is,
Yeah, of this one.
Yeah.
Is this from you,
And I gave you one too, I thought. Yep, that's from me. So I went through.
I don't
the budget
see it, but-
I'm done. Very exciting thing. Hang on, we'll do it one.
This is the.
Hang on. Can I make a
Sure,
copy?
sure, sure.
Okay, I didn't get any emails, so you know, it's been. 24, so. I won.
they just haven't come in yet.
I have a bunch of. Personally, I can't believe the number of emails I just get over like
Oh, I know.
Friday night to like Monday normally, and
Yeah.
of course I have a backlog, I've only like looked at some of the most. Important ones, so. Of course, this thing marks them already on my phone, I haven't figured out how to fix it yet.
Okay, so
So.
I started out-
What is this document that you're handing out?
I gave you.
Oh, you did, is that this summary thing?
No,
Oh.
no, it's got.
Oh, that, yeah, I got that. Okay, I got that's actually right here, thanks.
So. The basic things, not the highlighted things, bring us to take away 262,000 from the budget. And then the highlighted things, would get us up to $723,000. But there were things I don't know, and so, and some of these we may not wanna do. Do you want me to go through them, or do you want quick, or do you want to look at them and come back, or how do you want to do this?
I think this is a discussion, but in all honesty, this is, yeah,
So, I know that we probably need Natalie the extra 5 hours a week, but at this point, maybe we can wait a little bit longer, so the first thing is Natalie. 806 is, Sue, so we're bringing her up to her thing. This extra is the extra pay increase on that, correct, Karen?
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe we don't do that, maybe we just bring her up to where she needs to be. I'm just throwing out things. Vacation buyback, I don't know. I know Sue probably uses almost all of her vacation. I don't know.
well, what that
This
vacation,
would affect. you.
yeah, what vacation buyback does, it does one of two things. It either, somebody can't take their vacation and they wanna have some buyback, then they can do it. Or the other thing is that if, one of us is out, then it means Natalie can come in for some extra hours during the time that there's only one of
So,
us in the office.
so you use that for that? For
We do,
Natalie?
yeah, so that,
Okay.
right,
So-
rather than just,
Right.
having
Do we-
15 hours.
Do we use the entire vacation buyback every year, or is that something that we could, take it down to 3,500?
We used it all this past year, and that was to bring Sue up, remember, because last year She had made her request after the budget had been put together, so nobody had any option for that, nor did we have any option for any extra hours for Natalie.
So perhaps what we could do one or the other. We could take out vacation buyback, or we could take away Natalie's extra hours maybe, and then we could still fund Natalie through the vacation buyback money, if that was a necessity. But maybe we don't need both. Anyway, I'm just gonna go through this.
Yeah.
809 was, when we got the heat pumps, theoretically, we should be using less oil. So it's all theoretical. I don't know if we need to budget for a little bit less oil or how much we've actually used less. I know Karen, you have a page in there. But perhaps we can take down our oil by 3,000. Legal, the big question, are we past a lot of huge legal things? Maybe we could take 5,000 off of legal. Animal control. Maybe we don't do the 2,500 extra for the 2 extra hours a week for 9.
Actually, no, that was not. The extra money, Nine is paid 22 hours a week, which is essentially for being on call animal control 24/7.
The extra.
And then the
was what?
extra is when, if she gets a call and it goes over the 2 hours a week, then she will actually be paid hourly. She
So-
also will be paid for her training time.
So that's just to make sure that's okay. Okay, then that, maybe we won't take it off. And then, had something on here. Fire.
Yeah, that's the,
Right.
that's the volunteer reimbursement.
Well, I don't know why that's on there, so. Anyway, can they do, I mean, I hate to ask the fire department for anything more, but can they maybe get 1 extrication set this year and 1 next year?
That would be a question for
They
them.
have to do the extrication
Okay.
sets. I don't know if they have to have both this year, but that's $1,000.
My understanding is that they were buying the extrication sets for the people who do EMS and buying them those rather than the bunker gear.
Right,
So spending $1,000 a set rather than
Then-
$4,000 a set.
right, and that makes sense.
So
I just don't know if they could perhaps then do 1 this year and 1 next year, and maybe they can't. Okay, I hate to say it, because I'm the biggest recycling person in the world, but spend a lot of money, we spend $20,000 a year on recycling, and do we know that our stuff even gets recycled, or does it just get put in a landfill?
So that is a question that is not clear.
Yeah,
It would depend on the market, but I will say that if Casella's taking our recycling, I don't know, where does it go right now? The MRRA, or not MRRA, but
Well, we
whatever the
have-
place in
we-
Camden isn't open
Right.
still, right?
Casella is the one who is, we have our recycling is not part of our MRA. So right
Right.
now, Casella is taking it to their recycling facility.
Right.
But where it goes from there,
So what I understand, and I don't wanna, say whatever, but Casella did invest something like $26.5 million on this robotic recycling system down in northern Mass someplace. So I know they're serious about removing that stuff out of the stream. However, if they're not making a sizable profit, they also, I believe, have calculations on there. So let's say milk jugs market is down and it's more handling costs or whatever to try to market it. I'm not sure where it goes, to be honest.
When I went to
So
that
it really
hearing,
is
there was
difficult.
not a clear, when I went to the hearing about Jennifer Rich, it wasn't clear.
so anyway, I'm just throwing it out there.
I think,
I didn't wanna get
I
rid
think,
of
what-
it either, but-
yeah, I think like right now, let's just go through this and then.
You guys. So I'm just curious, so the next one is harbor master benefits. So I know that a few years ago, maybe 21, we combined.
Harbor Master benefits is actually just Social Security, FICA, and the Maid Family Leave Act that is on the salary.
But
So,
that's because it's a salary because of the combined things, or it's just a.
oh no, we have to
salary
pay that on
harbor
everybody.
You should pay it.
It's paid it on you too.
master? Okay. Okay,
We
yeah,
have to pay
but-
Social Security and FICA and Maid Family Leave on anybody who gets a paycheck from
right,
the
right,
town.
right, but I'm thinking that it's. That if, well, a harbor master does get a pay.
So do the documents.
Yeah, okay. So,
That's non-negotiable.
That's non-negotiable.
Talk to your federal government about that.
and then, let's see, where did I go? Eight. Oh, yeah, I don't see it on here, but, guess I didn't put it in here. Maintenance on the new boat is $1,500 since it's a new harbor boat. Do we probably need
I think-
$1,500?
I think it was the maintenance was to get it up, they had to do some things to it to.
No, the $1,500 is actually for, the spring, you know, when we get it out,
Yeah.
and then in the wintertime, when we, in fall maintenance, and then when we have it covered. So,
So
I mean,
that's-
if anybody has a boat, there is a certain amount, we take it to Tim Bland and he winterizes the engine.
And then, I'm sorry, Karen, I need some education about septic fees.
Yep, anybody who has a septic system, you know, and typically they're off neck, there are a few on neck. When their tank is pumped, and it can be, the town has a policy that every 3 years it can be pumped. There's actually a state statute that says that municipalities pay the tipping fees, which is the disposal fee for that. It goes back a long ways because people used to just like dump it out back. And so to keep that from happening, that did it.
I figured that's
So
what it was.
we have, we have over 300 septic tanks in town. And of course, if everybody, and at the cost to do 1,000 gallons, a 1,000-gallon septic tank is between $120 and $180 each time. So if you say, you know, okay, if everybody's doing it, I mean, to tell you the truth, 120 times 100 is a lot more than $6,000. Not everybody does it every 3 years. I mean, in actuality, like Fred puts them in. We've been in our house for, you know, over 40 years. He says, if you treat it correctly, it shouldn't ever have to be done. Ours has been done once.
Right, you don't. have to-
However, people tend to put things down their systems that don't belong there, so.
So do we spend the 6,000, or is it 6,000, do we spend? that?
Typically, we have not, but then there have been some years where it does, and it all depends upon whether people have their septic systems pumped or not.
I was just wondering if we could maybe take that down. Then, back to the traffic, officer. I wondered if the traffic officer needs to be a stipend position or a paid, like, or can we go back to hourly? And would that save us, whatever, we went back? to-
You're talking traffic for parking.
If we went back to hourly and we said, you know, give us X amount of hours a week, if that would make things a little bit less. The Elm Tree Committee has money in their budget, so maybe we don't have to give them the whole 25,000 this year, we can give
They
them.
have- They have money, how much is in there, how much, I
Let me look.
mean, they have money in their.
They have like $26,000
Oh, is
in
it?
their account, I
Then-
believe, right? Karen, the Elm Tree Committee has like $26,000 in their account. So I think we can maybe give them half this year,
Okay,
just once, I'm
Yeah.
not saying forever.
no, of course not.
Rec, maybe we take out the 2,500 for that, unless
Yeah.
that's their big. I don't want to take away their.
No,
big
but I
item.
read this,
And then,
So just so you know, that $12,000 a year, that's quote a stipend, that was based upon 10 hours a week, 52 weeks, and that comes out to $23 an hour.
okay,
So,
You're not gonna say.
so we're not gonna say anything if we do. I'm just concerned.
I mean, you could do-
10 hours.
At how many dollars an hour was that, Karen?
that comes out, if you take the $12,000, divide by 52, and then divide by 10, because I know that we had sort of said that it was kind of 10 hours a week, that comes to $23 an hour.
If he's generating.
Yeah, if we're gonna pay that kind of money, I think we need a return, we need a better return.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I think we need to make sure that they really are doing the 10 hours. a week.
Yeah, that's right, they have to
Exactly.
be doing the ten.
Well, because you gotta, listen, if they do the 10 hours a week,
Mhm.
there should be X amount of chickens written, and it's really simple.
Yeah, it has to nearly, I mean, it doesn't, it's not like I want it to be a money-making venture, but it needs to nearly pay for itself or pay for itself
Exactly.
every year.
Or if we don't have a problem, then we don't need a ticketing office.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Okay, where did I get to? 862. Oh, we have in here $15,000 for the reserve account for the backhoe. When we buy a new backhoe, because that was the next thing on that, are we really planning on buying a brand new backhoe? Or can we buy a used backhoe? Or is that a bad idea?
That depends on the marketplace, really, but there's usually a reason sometimes people get rid of them, but sometimes you have certain cities are on like a cycle too. That they might say, okay, we replace ours every 10 years, you know? Like police cars, a lot of them be on 5-year cycles and stuff, and it automatically gets replaced.
And so it might be.
So it depends on, you know, what is out there in the marketplace for a used backhoe.
Yeah.
So you wanna be careful, you're not buying somebody else's problem too, so it's, you wanna find out where it came from. You know, what their
With
method
maintenance
for
schedule.
replacement is and stuff like that.
So I just don't know, maybe that's a $15,000 that we could save, I just saying,
Okay.
okay, 860. So the
There's the fire equipment.
fire equipment, yeah, I know they want $200,000, right, for the reserve, the fire truck reserve. Equipment reserve, that's what they are, or 100,
Mhm.
what did we say, 190 we would go up to.
Yeah,
Maybe
they,
we just go 50. Which is still.
okay, so that's actually the 860, not the 860-1.
Yeah.
860-1 is
Have it
for the,
backwards.
And this is the account we've been putting 10 into each year.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right, so maybe we just give them. 50 and not, so we would save 150,000 there. I'm sorry, Karen's.
Mm-mm.
You're talking
and then
860-1.
Yeah, and then on for the OPM, the 200,000 there for the OPM. I don't know how creative we're allowed to be with things, so if we need 400,000 for the OPM and get things started and get moving. Is there any way that we can do 200,000 this July and 200,000 next July? I
You
don't
could
know.
write the article to take 200,000 from unassigned fund balance or something, and then 200,000 from taxation, that's the.
but
only way
then
to
you're
do it.
taking it from surplus and you're really defeating
You're
your
defeating-
purpose because
But
you're.
I'm just saying, can
Well,
we-
but that splits up it still raises the 400, but then it's. Half of it, the 200,000, you
What
know,
you're
you're
taking
gonna have to
from your
replace
surplus,
it
which
the
is your
next
savings
year.
account, so it's.
That is our savings account.
I know, but
it's-
it's for a
but
project that we need to do, so.
we just need to figure out.
If
how
you're
to
asking
do
to
taxation.
split the pain, if you will, right, over 2 years, but fully fund it, there's only, two ways.
Or
Taxation or,
Or can we go
Unassigned
to
fund
OPM and
balance.
say, we can pay you 200,000 this year, but we can't pay you the second half of it until 2026.
no, I doubt that's gonna work.
I don't think so, because once you sign a contract, you actually have to sign a contract having
For the whole-
really
okay.
knowing
And
that
we
you
don't
have
have
the
to
whole
guarantee
amount.
if the town
I
has to
just-
vote on the second.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem.
Because if they turn it
Right.
down,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
if they turn it down, then,
Then we would have to take it out of surplus.
well, you even have to,
Right,
you even have to have the town approve to take it out of surplus, and they could still say no on that, and then
Well,
essentially, you've got liability
and I know
to a
that,
board
and I
for
know that we
signing it.
wanna do that, but that's just our biggest ticket item, and I was trying to.
And listen,
figure out a way to
and we.
Pull it down.
Don't bother taking anything out of library improvements, because that comes out of the endowment, that has absolutely nothing to do with
Right, so
taxation.
I just wasn't sure where that.
It comes out of the
I guess
endowment.
it was, but I wasn't sure if we had already counted it, like we had already taken.
That's
it out.
part of our budget, but it is not part of the additional
not part
amount
of
from,
the
it's
number. Okay,
not
good.
anything that has to do with taxation.
Okay, harbor improvement. The $80,000 for harbor, I skipped down, okay, wait, we'll just go, employee advertising, I know we agreed we would increase that up to 2,500 just in case, because at some point we'll have to do some advertising, but maybe this year we don't have to do. And then on the sidewalk equipment. Derek, can we not buy all the pieces of the equipment this year? Are there pieces that we can start with? Because if we purchase the equipment for this fall, or for going into this fall, are there like specific pieces that we need, specific attachments, and then maybe we could save $10,000 and buy those other attachments at a later time?
I think so. I gotta find my proposal that I had here.
Or, I mean, I'm just gonna throw out this,
You do.
since 2 years ago, the town voted it down. You guys just say, you know what, we're gonna take that off our radar this year. The whole thing for sidewalks.
We could. I'd rather not. I'd rather have it on there.
There's
And
so much
if
of
they
it.
vote it down,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
but I'd rather have it on there.
And and also because it was something that a lot of people were very passionate about.
Yeah, we heard about it. We keep, it keeps coming up, right? And maybe, maybe Amy's right. Maybe we don't do the building the first year. But
So where is it gonna be housed? I mean. are
You're
you
gonna
just
have to have
leave
a
it in the-
trailer to pull
are
it
you gonna
into
leave that
town
in
each
the-
time.
then we'd have to have a trailer, yeah. So, I don't know, but if we could do the attachments, because I know the attachments are about $5,000 each.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if I can't find that company.
Maybe we don't get all of the ones that we would love, but we get two basic ones. We get the plow, and then we get the little vacuum, not vacuum, but the
The
little.
propeller thing that shoots.
The sweeper thing,
Yeah.
because that we can use, I do have words, that we can use in the spring to sweep the sidewalks, which makes it more than just cleaning the sidewalks from the snow, so. Oh, I know, somewhere on here.
But Roberta, just so I'm clear, this 180 in the library.
That's, we just take it off.
Okay, so that's already up
and
there.
And so it's not part of this 723 then, because, yeah.
And the harbor improvements?
The harbor improvements, that $80,000 that we have in there, is that matching? for
That's matching for the congressionally directed spending. We said that we were gonna have it there.
Okay. then we
So
gotta
it concerns me a little bit not to have
No,
it.
we gotta have
But
it.
there's another question with Karen,
Well,
we're getting back some of our money that we were gonna spend on the dock improvements or whatever during the storm, right? That should go back into our unassigned fund balance. So is that something that we wanna look at? Taking that out, I mean, rather than paying 100% of those damages, we paid 90%, let's say. So
But
is
Derek,
that
the
something
reality
we
is
wanna do it?
that money coming back, I mean, from my understanding, we're not gonna see that for a long time if we ever.
Well, no, that we're seeing it right now.
We've
It's
seen
coming
some,
in.
we've seen some of it.
Right.
But the only other thing is that when we had that article at town meeting, I mean, we said we are applying for FEMA. I mean, so the town said,
Right,
we are in hopes to get a fair amount of this back. However, if we don't. And I think the town really sort of voted that, thinking that it would come, or hoping that it would come back to surplus.
So my point is on that though, is. In the grant, you talked about the 80,000, there's a match there, whether or not we have it or not, that's right, this is a one-time thing for now. So if you pull 80 out of that as a matching funds, it doesn't affect the bottom line, yeah, it pulls it out of unassigned fund balance, it's not going to magically be replenished. But it's not coming back next year for that purpose either, and now you're satisfied that congressionally directed spending match requirement, even though we're not gonna be spending it. That's part of it. I think that we still need to have it in there,
So
but I can double check to see if we can defer it, but I worry
It's fine.
that could be used against us if they
Right.
claw money back. Because we're not gonna spend that for a few more years anyways, so that's a concern unless,
But it's a
some
one,
magical money comes from the sky and says, here's a couple $1 million to do this expansion, but really we need to wait for Maine Maritime's pier to get in there and see what the title action is before we even start looking at designing anything for the docks, because it could there could be eddies, for instance, and like where we were gonna do it, so we gotta wait,
Okay.
coming off that. new
Plus we may have
shipping.
advice from GEI.
Yeah.
Right, and that report will come out too. But I mean, even with GEI, this money was set up, was literally budgeted to get around the new ship and the new pier and whatever those impacts are gonna be.
So the other thing, we have 2,500 for the solar project because we need that to ask for that test or to sign up right there for solar.
But,
It's not looking good in legislature right now. I don't know.
no, what, so when Derek and I had the meeting with the revision. You know, at the end of that meeting, and I don't know if he was trying to sell it, but he was saying the best alternative would just be to buy into their community solar project. We don't have to build anything, you just buy into one of those big. And it was it seemed to me an infinitely easier solution if we want to go that route.
Okay. I know, I love Ted's thing because the town would make nearly 60,000.
No, we still would.
We still would?
No, you would save,
We would save, but we wouldn't be making the revenue that.
But what the thing that the revision said is that it could take 3, 4, 5 years to build ours because of all the, it would take many years.
So one other thing that I didn't have on here, was looking at the transfer station, how much oil or how much we pay for heating. Is it heating the shed out there? Do we heat that shed at all, or is it just electric and?
They have this propane heater out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe going forward, we can figure out how to insulate that building better, or obviously, I would love to build a new building with it. But,
So are we talking about the municipal garage or are we
Yeah.
talking about the municipal garage has a furnace in it. One of the things that we did do is we actually bought some fans. I bought 2 fans and the guys have it on their list to have those installed when we need to get an electrician to do that, which would keep the heat down, which will do a much better
Right.
job of
Okay.
doing that.
cause yeah.
We
spent
also
this-
had, yes,
We do.
and weren't they also getting the bottom of that building, we need a repair thing on that, has that been done yet or not?
No, Joe should have just contacted Brown to actually do that, but
Okay.
they're just gonna replace the structure, Joe's
Okay.
gonna do and Corey will do the insulation part around it.
Yeah.
It's just a little gap there, so that's
Yeah.
not deadly, but it is definitely a hole there.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be stuff
Yeah.
full of anything right now too, so
Okay,
it's
the
not gonna
big,
be
the
a.
big deal is that ceiling is so high in there.
Right.
And so our thought is that if we got some ceiling fans in there, that would bring some heat down. So we are trying to do that.
That's fantastic. It just, you're looking at it, it's almost, it's as much as Emerson or almost as much.
Yes.
As Emerson. I was like, wow.
Yes.
Okay, and then the last 2 things that I have are, probably can't do it this year because I think, we would freak people out. But we really need to look at what we pay for the visitor center. I know they use that money to pay Sherry, I believe that Sherry is a very important part of our town and the visitor center, and she does a great job of getting people to places and working with the volunteers. But the Merchants Association said it years ago that they were going to figure out how to fund that, and I think we need to rely on them to do that. Plus, with our community and economic development director,
Totally.
that person should also be helping the visitor
Absolutely.
center figure out how to fund that without the taxpayers funding that $12,000 a year. So that's something we can probably start talking to the Merchants Association about. And then just my last thing on my notes was just that, when we do have a community economic development director, my expectation is that person is going to be, almost in a way paying for themselves.
Oh,
through
absolutely.
Grants and.
And that,
everything else,
to me, in my mind, they should be, in what they bring to the town, it should be triple.
Yeah,
I mean, they should
yeah,
be
yeah.
paying for themselves,
Yeah.
and you should be able to measure, income that's coming to the town,
I agree. So I think that really has to be a value add.
totally.
And so, anyway, that's that. Thank you for listening.
I mean,
It's a long list.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
And I don't know, you know.
I mean, we could have probably predicted that this day was coming. It's not like we have fat on this
No.
budget. And, you know, this is just from what I've been reading, this is the reality that municipalities all over
Absolutely,
are facing.
right.
So our situation is one of tens of thousands, especially in light of what's going on. And I think we are in the very unenviable position of delivering a tough budget. And I'm not saying we should cut things back, but I think, you know, if we cut 5,000 here, 2,000 here, 8,000 here, it's not gonna change the number a lot. I mean, we can bring it down, but it's not like,
Brings it down, but it shows that we're trying.
Right, it shows that we're
It's a good
trying,
message.
it shows, I think that's an important.
No,
important
absolutely.
message to show them that we care. Because, I mean, 262,000 even is, it's not a lot. I know Karen sent the thing, I think it's 1% for 35,000. So that's not that much, but it gets us down 4 or 5%.
Okay.
I mean, it helps a little bit. I think every little bit's important because, as you all know, because you were on the Hancock County budget, right? The Hancock County budget is going up, which means our residents are going to get taxed for that, and we have no say in that. You know, the jail.
and we
jails are
having
very-
gone through that experience, and there were so many things that needed legitimate funding. I mean, it was heartbreaking to see these things getting voted down at one after the other. And, you know, departments that are in shoestrings, you know.
Oh, and all the things that the jails can't do, it's horrible.
It's horrible.
But so they're facing issues, the state of Maine is facing issues, and the state of Maine. This is just what I see, and maybe I'm reading it wrong. The state of Maine, I think, is on thin ice with the federal government right now.
Totally.
And so we could lose a lot of federal government funding. I don't know, maybe we won't, but we could. And so then the state's gonna need more revenue, you know, so I just see this as a nasty slide. And I just want us to be doing as much as we can.
So, one way of looking at this is what number is gonna be acceptable? And then we say, okay, this is the number we're shooting for, and then we simply say, okay, we're good, we have to cut 191,000, whatever the number's gonna be. And then we just go, you know, like, I think we have to say, what do we think the voters will pass? And where do we feel that we've done our best, but also face the reality?
One thing that we can tout is that, and this is where Karen, maybe you can help with this. So the library board is paying for their entire budget.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yes.
huge, and we have to make a really big deal out of
Yes.
that.
Yes,
And that saves us about $158,000.
Mhm.
For this year.
For
Yes.
For this year.
Not something long.
Yes.
And it didn't really seem to help us out.
well, no, because the draft budget is over $1 million more than it was last year. I mean, that's,
And the biggest
A
chunk of
substantial
that
amount.
is the
Mm.
400,000.
Right,
well, if you look at it, I mean, if you think 400,000 for the building, 200,000 for a truck, the regular operating account, the self-funded insurance, and then the capital, I mean, it's almost $800,000 in
Right
this
there.
budget belongs to the fire department.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I
And
understand.
we haven't begun to have salary employees.
I know.
Right.
I mean, this is a real turning point, I think. And I think that's also, like you talked about, what number would the residents support? I think there's also a balance beyond the number in terms of what it's for, right? Like you say, like, a lot of this can be focused on the fire department, like, lots of areas haven't gone up a lot. But if we can show, like, if we make certain reductions and try to slim where we can, you can say, okay, it is higher now, but this is where it is and this is why, or how we've talked about infrastructure or different things that we need to invest in.
I'm gonna say something in my out loud voice.
Yeah.
You know, when I see, you know, taking away part-time clerk hours, you know, that we had asked for, because Sue and I are pretty stressed in the office. we have more people
Yeah.
who ask us for help.
Than ever.
My guess is that the economic development person will also ask us for help. And then all of a sudden, you're taking away additional hours we've asked for. You're telling Sue that she's, I mean.
I'm not,
she'll
I'm
get to
not
one-
trying to tell her.
I'm just,
it's
no,
not
I'm just saying,
important, but
and
yeah.
then you're also taking away vacation buyback. I mean, to me, that is, for really a small amount of money that we're asking for a little help in the front office.
No, that's
Sue
fine.
and I are stretched. I'll kind of throw the town manager position under the bus right now. When you guys interviewed for that, you said, we're gonna take away code enforcement. That took away 20 hours a week. 3 months later, you asked to have a community and economic development person, which I was under the impression that was gonna be part of the town manager position. So and then you're putting a 20-hour week back. So all of a sudden, that's 40 hours a week that you've essentially taken away from the town manager. And Sue and I, nothing gets taken away from us, and it almost seems like we end up with a little more every time. So there's my
That's-
under the.
I'm glad you're saying that. I was just trying to go through and look at
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
So, if the vacation buyback and the part-time salary cover the same thing, do we need? Or
The part-time clerk, that would allow
We
her
can
to work
totally do that.
20 hours a week
Sure.
rather than 15.
And that's great.
What that vacation buyback does is in part, if Sue is out, then that means that I can ask Natalie to be here for 40 hours that week,
Okay.
so that I'm not
Yeah.
Okay.
losing 20 hours of my week
Got it. Okay.
on.
And the other thing I want to say about this is that I think Natalie's important for another reason. Okay, which is important for many reasons, but, we don't know when Sue's leaving,
Right.
okay?
Well, Natalie can never be the
No,
town
no,
clerk.
no, no.
No, I'm just saying Natalie can never be the town clerk because she is not a US citizen.
That's where we're going. What I was gonna say is that whoever we hire to be the town clerk, having Natalie there besides Karen, to help get them adjusted. I just think that not having that person for lots of reasons is, like for lots of reasons, we need to have the part-time.
So so that's fine, and even the 2,400 for Sue's, to bring her. Cause I know we wanted to make
Yeah.
a whole, and then if we need to do that, that's fine, I was truly just going through numbers.
I know,
trying to
but I
pull
guess,
out numbers.
that sort of hit me as a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Only
trying to
because
be
I'm.
cute. Or you.
Yeah, I mean, so really right now, the only thing that
So
we've
that's
agreed, the only thing that we've agreed that's coming out is the
$150,000 for the fire, unless we have.
and what about and this 180 for the library is
And
over.
that, yeah, that.
Well, no,
that's
because that's not gonna matter.
That doesn't matter,
Doesn't
that's
matter.
staying in the budget,
Right.
because
But
it's being completely funded
Yeah.
No,
by,
no,
it was never a part of taxation.
Okay, good. Okay, no, all I'm getting at is, what number are we down to now?
None, well, if we ask the fire department.
You haven't told me to take anything out of the
No,
budget
no.
yet, so you guys
But
need
if-
to say what you're gonna take out.
Department for $50,000 in the truck reserve instead of $200,000.
Okay,
That takes us down 150
right,
there. That's about the only thing we've kind of agreed on.
The one thing I don't see on here, and I was gonna do something similar like this week, so I'm so glad that we did this. I'm thinking about our thoughts on the traffic striping and the speed tables, right? I'm wondering if we have to do either right now, because right now we have a sign
Okay.
digitally, right? That can help give us data. We're still looking, Derek, are we still looking for a trailer?
I think I've got one for
Okay.
$390 or something, I haven't
we
ordered it
talked
yet, because I'm
We
figuring
talked
out.
about maybe using that sign to gather data to try to figure out where
Mhm.
the speedier spots are in town. Maybe we do that for the upcoming fiscal year and use that data to then decide what our next steps might be. Maybe that
That's
helps.
a good
and
That'd be
also,
another way
and
to
also
get
with the work that the school's doing on the safety, I mean, the signs are one.
They say, yeah, and working with with Craig now that he's in his
Yeah.
position, working with the student initiatives that are there. For less money, we might be able to support them through messaging and education.
The other thing is we could also, we could maybe do private, we could do a private, we don't raise $20,000 at some point. It doesn't have to be in the budget, we could,
Right,
we could have a safety committee raise the money.
right,
Well,
right.
and yeah, maybe we do more education
Yeah.
on our side as well.
Mhm.
And I'm good with that.
I
We'll
am
take
too.
that out of.
I just feel like right now, it's not, it's an
That's fine.
ongoing need, but maybe not the
No,
most urgent
it's not the
one
most
if we're
urgent.
trying to
Okay.
find.
So what do you guys think about the sidewalk thing? About,
I'm torn because I feel like we plow the roads. I feel like it's a basic service, particularly as we were looking at it for the more traveled sidewalks, not the whole town. And I think if we're moving forward with a community economic development director and those initiatives, I'm conflicted because I feel like to be an economically, vibrant town, should we not have our sidewalks clear? Right, as kind of a basic level, especially the ones that are in the commercial area. And yes, every winter is not gonna have as much snow, but I do think in all the years that, many of us have lived here, it's more of an anomaly. The last few years that we didn't have much snow, we've had lots of snow over the years, so I don't see that. We're gonna always be faced with this, so anyways, but if there were, I don't know if there's another area where it could be stored, that might not cost as much, though at the same time, we've seen this year that the fire department and their efforts for their original squad car, we've gone through, I think, 3 of the fabric little hoop houses that a big windstorm comes up, the thing just blows off and goes down the street, so temporary might be advisable, but it needs to work, so I don't know if there's a place where, or Karen, what do we know about the little garage where I think they've been holding the squad car behind the clinic? Is that a place that could hold
There's no
a
more
snow
space.
blower? Is there no
I'm
space?
sorry
in
to
there
speak
for
up,
that?
but we.
No,
No.
please.
No.
We squeezed the
yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Did you already have not been in the space?
so
Yeah.
we have,
Scarlet is in there
the
too.
library, or the planet board is kind enough to allow us to store Scarlet and Sally there, and now we have 2. And so right now it's pretty tight. I think there's a mattress between the girls and the fire department. Truck, but if need be, Castine Touring can certainly find another option for winter storage, and if that's a place where we could store the sidewalk, the equipment for a year, if the clinic would be open to that, then Castine Touring will definitely make that change.
In kind of the alternate way of looking at the sidewalk clearing, as much as I think it should be a service, that like a part of our basic services for the town, we've gone ages without it. So if we were to go another year,
Was that
it
sidewalk?
wouldn't be a change, right? I mean, it would just be
Right,
that it's a
right.
delay
Yeah.
of something that maybe,
I
obviously,
mean,
some people would
I
like
kind
to
of feel like
see,
since
so
people made such a big deal about it this year, I kind of feel like you put it on the
put it out and
budget.
let the town.
Let the town decide, I mean, there's not. Yeah, the budget is up a lot, but it's not like there's access to the budget, we're not putting granite curbs anywhere, or, I mean.
Well, if we could take out 10,000 and purchase 2 fewer implements for the sidewalk equipment.
Here's the thing, I was just looking at that, that right now, that thing is, I've been going over it in my head, I guess. So with all of the things included, it's $38,929, right? So I was looking
Which is
through.
almost our 40, and we
Right,
don't have a
and you don't
building.
even have the building in there for another 8, I just saw 68 or whatever, I just saw one at Home Depot, I think Saturday night, and I have to drive over there and go, oh, I'm gonna go look at that building, cause I'm thinking that if we do have one of those, I'd like to have a door on the end and doors on the side, so you can get to it from whatever, wherever the attachments you put in there. So it won't be 10,000, but, and I'm looking, the broom, that might be something we can pull out of that, right? And so that's $4,440 and 358. But I gotta ask him, cause he's got this 12-volt actuator, but I think you need one for each attachment, but I'm not sure if he's duplicated it on each one. So I just noticed it when I was looking at it, I'm like, wait. That attachment's on there three times or 2 times, and so then I also need to find out what this 6-inch extension for the V blade is. But here's the thing, I happened to see a video of Manchester, New Hampshire. And people, oh, look, they were out, it was from a while ago, but it just popped up somehow on Facebook. And it showed them, and they had one of the sidewalk machines that had the real durable, heavy duty snowblower attachment to it. It's a, looks like a big box, like one of those parking meter things, but heavy duty. Bucksport had one of them rolled down the hill, but that's neither here nor there. But they had a blue V plow attachment, but then they also have the heavy duty blades. And that thing was going through, and it had been a week since they got out there. And that thing was having to literally crash into this frozen snow on the sidewalks. So I'm like, all right, yeah, you know, that's why we gotta get onto it. You can't let it go like a week, because as the sun comes out, starts melting with that salt in there, that becomes just a solid mass of stuff. So they were really having trouble crunching through. That's why I think a V plow is gonna be key. But one thing that people need to know is we're not gonna go back and like shovel their walkways and everything else. When we cut a path through wherever, they're gonna still have to come out and like shovel off their steps, or let's say in front of the post office and those businesses. When we go through there, they're gonna still have to go out and do some shoveling of that out of the way. I don't think we're gonna go back and shovel it all out. Maybe we will. But so a V plow I think is gonna be important, because a V you crash through, so you're not hitting it like with a wall, you're hitting it like and splitting it, like the Red Sea or the Dead Sea, whichever it was that Moses opened up, so. So I think the V plow you need. The broom, that might be a thing that we need to look at. Maybe we hand broom off the stuff or whatever, but because that's good for a little dusting or a couple inches of snow. But I'm thinking the snow blower attachment could probably do those same little storms too. We could probably get away without the drop spreader, but that means we'd have to go back and salt by hand or something with that, and I don't think that's gonna be that popular. So, and then I definitely think anybody driving around in the middle of the winter wants a windscreen and stuff, so I don't think that's something to get ahead.
Windscreen.
So really, I'm looking at that broom could be about $4,800 right there. And if I'm right about this 12-volt actuator for the snow blower and for the broom itself, well, let's see, is it on there twice? No, I think if we get rid of one, then it will still need the other anyways, for the snow blower. So snow blower, V blade would be needed. I can check on what the 6-inch extension is with steel edges, because our sidewalk's already pretty narrow. We don't need 6-inch edge extensions. Might be wrong. We might be able to get whatever the storage basket is. I think we do need to keep the rear work lights, the backup alarm, so we don't, and strobes for safety. And the horn, of course, a horn is, it's $145, but still. And then the backup alarm, I already did get, because I mentioned the Houston Galveston buyback and Sourcewell contract and the Massachusetts cooperative buying contracts. I asked them if we could get those savings as part of this. So they did knock off, just so you know, on this quote, it doesn't tell me, but I think it's like 7% of what it was going to cost otherwise, by saying, hey, we want to go under those cooperative, even though we're not members of any of them yet. So they did give us that pricing. So really, that would bring the 38,929. You get your calculator there. You subtract out the broom of 44, $4,440 minus 358 is what?
34,131.
So that's probably what that's gonna cost.
34,139, and then if we do 6,800 for a building, that gets us right back.
Right back.
Right,
up to the other thing. Now,
Well, the 68 is just for the building, and that doesn't do for the,
Electricity or.
well, I don't know,
I don't know if we need the
I don't know that we
electricity
need
as much.
electricity, but we
it's
need a
just
pad to put the.
Rob, that's right. Well, I mean, ideally, they have it sitting there, they have it on skids, but I agree that parking lot out there gets too spongy.
Yeah.
So I do worry, I mean, could we probably prep and pour a little
And
pad? I don't
I had
know.
another thought, if we take the solar out
No.
completely. And because we're still gathering information on the solar. In the sense, like, we don't know what we're gonna do. What if we take another few months, we decide, yeah, it works, it doesn't work, what works? And then if we need to, we could have a separate vote on just like a solar, solar for the town, like it becomes a single item.
And then the money ends up coming from surplus. There again, you're taking it from your savings.
It's only $2,500.
Right,
So. If, big word, if. Things don't go really bad, we could take it from contingency.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think so, and the
And of
other
course,
thing
the
is
more
though,
you trim your
if we
budget
get
down,
this solar
the
thing
more
down.
likely you are
To
to
take
need to
things
get into contingency.
That's right.
So depending on what we do, okay? Now, I don't think that with Select, they're gonna pay for this CMP thing for whatever thousand. Didn't sound like, and I haven't looked at the proposal that we got after we met there.
you're talking from revision.
I have it, I just haven't had a chance to review it. But I think that 5,000, we were gonna have to pay if we go that route.
Yes,
But it may be that we gotta just wait and figure out, cause like I said, I think we now need to get a third proposal now to separate these two
Back,
opposing
okay.
ideas about what would be,
so
you know,
is
the prudent thing to do.
yeah, and did you find that Dana just wasn't a good source of information?
I think their report had good info in it, but like literally like when they show the array, so they hired that consultant solar company. And all they did is just literally lay
Yeah,
a bunch of solar panels over the landfill. They never looked at truly
yeah,
where they could go. So that's why that says, oh, you can put 3 megawatts out there. So no, you can't put 3 megawatts because they have to be flat and they have to be on the concrete thing. So that part of it, I did not like as part of the
Okay.
study. A lot of the other information
Listen,
was
it's not gonna
valuable
cost,
to a
we
degree.
can go to the company right outside of Belfast, it's what's it called, something Logic, and they have the.
Yeah, right, Solar Logic,
Yeah,
whatever, yeah.
we could, or you can go to Sundog, we could just go to both of them.
Sundog's done some, so Sundog might be if they're willing to come in and do some work and look at it to see if that's something they would do.
Yeah,
I mean, they usually do them, well, I don't know, they do some that they own, but they've done, I forget one of
Yeah.
the things, so. I think there's another company out there and I don't know the companies Roberta talked to.
okay,
So is the 2,500 something that we need right now? I don't know, it depends what we're gonna do. Because if we're going to do this, this is where I'm thinking, we're gonna have to bond it, okay? So we're gonna have a bond question anyway, so the 2,500 can just be wrapped into whatever the heck we decide to do on an
Okay.
estimated
Okay.
cost. So get rid of it, is my short answer from all of that. Because we're either gonna go for this or not go for it, you know,
exactly.
so.
I agree with you.
Okay, I mean, I don't know.
And I agree with you with Amy, traffic stuff, if you feel like, we did write that letter to.
Gave us anything that says.
Craig, we will see what they come up with.
Yeah, I'm good.
And so,
Is that in
What?
that email that I thought that was the same letter?
Yeah.
Because I think.
Well,
I think
if
this
you
year
look at
I
the
love that.
town
I would say
articles in the
this
warrant,
year
Yeah, right,
then.
That's why I was hoping you
The
could have a
bottom.
master sheet, that way it would be,
And if we get the
that's where it is, all right, I have it
Right
here.
here, you know,
I
last
actually
year
think
it
this
was
is the
3
kind of
million,
thing we said we
148,
wanted.
244, this year it's 4 million,
$15,000 to
111,
help.
so.
build
I
these
mean,
indicators. I think
that's-
it's something that could.
Right, so
yeah.
that's on the
Town articles, in the warrant.
49, right, Article 49,
Look at page 20.
Where?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
And that way we can
Yeah.
justify.
so
that.
that's everything on that one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we
Including
just-
the
Not
operations,
school.
right, so that's everything down there, okay,
Yeah.
good, that's what I was wondering.
I like
I
that.
literally had that open, that's what I was gonna ask her, is if that was the.
I mean, really, the biggest increase in the budget is everything to do with the fire department.
Yes.
It is.
And that's,
And that's to be expected,
And that's-
but I think that's
exactly.
important, because that's what we say, that everything hasn't necessarily gone up, and yes, we have to look at it more closely, because there are things that have gone up.
And maybe there aren't, you know, other things that we take out here. I mean, how much will the Elm Tree Committee be furious if we lower their budget?
I don't know. I don't know.
A lot.
I mean, you know, to tell you the truth, one of the things that I was thinking, and it's not a lot of money, but I mean, we do the newspaper ads in the Patriot every week, and it costs us $3,200 a year. And a lot of times, you know, we'll say, well, it was in the ad and paper. Oh, I don't look at that. So is that, I mean,
Do we
so.
have to do that? Like, is that legally?
The only thing that right now, no, legally, we don't have to do that for most municipal buildings. The only ones I think we really have to do is the planning board, because it's in the zoning ordinance. So if the zoning ordinance had a change in there that just said that the, the postings of the meetings would be on the town's website, the municipal bulletin board, and we just leave out the newspaper.
And if you actually, in practically, how many people look at that newspaper?
That's, well, that's what you're
I mean,
saying.
that's sort of what I'm saying, is that we'll have people who will say, well, I didn't know that, and I was like, well, okay, it's on the website, it's on the municipal bulletin board, and it's also in the newspaper. Well, where in the newspaper is it? In the town box ad. Well, town has a box ad?
People don't know.
Yes.
So, and I left alone the software, hardware budget. So if we do some improvements to the website, then taking away that 3,200 would be, it would be, I mean, it's.
I mean, granted, there may be some people in town who do not have internet access.
Right.
That's true.
And they may, the newspaper may be their one source,
true.
so there may be,
There are some ads like this zoning ads that we have to.
that's
put
what
in
I,
by law,
that's what
right?
I said, that, well, I think that is by our zoning ordinance, I
No,
don't.
no, it's in the state
It
statute.
is in the state?
Yeah,
Okay,
because the
then never
state
mind.
loves to
But
drive that money.
We don't necessarily have to do it as much as we do. Sue and I, actually, in the last 2 months, we have been trying to pare down what's in the box bed to keep them smaller.
Cause you pay by size,
We do pay by size, yes.
and you don't have to contract for the year for a sizes it week by week.
Essentially, we contract saying that right now, we contract saying that we will have an ad every single week and we get a certain percentage off. But it doesn't say how much space we will take up. Actually, they recently switched their billing program. And I got the bill, like, normally our bill is like $220 and this one's $444. So I said, can I see the breakdown? And they sent me the breakdown, and of course, in there, they had said we had color ads and all kinds of things. So I questioned it all, and yes, I got the bill down to $200.
Way down.
And they said, we apologize, we've got a new billing program and we haven't quite figured it out yet.
Mistake.
So,
Yeah.
but
Okay, well, we have to figure out though, how to bring this down. If we said we would do 50,000 in the fire equipment or for the truck instead of 200 this year.
This one here you're talking.
That's, yeah, it says 150 there,
Yeah.
860. So it would be $150,000 savings for the town. I know that we need to start saving more robustly for new fire equipment.
Yeah,
But maybe this year, if we're asking for $400,000 to start the process for the station, maybe we don't ask for 200,000 for the.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe we need to ease the town into it a little bit. It's hard to know because that 400 is also set, as I understand, is setting us up for the anticipated debt
Right.
service.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
get it into the, as a way to get in the bed and start living with it
Right.
and working with it.
I
So
mean,
that's not
well,
gonna
once
go
that-
away.
The only thing that's gonna go away, is the 200 in a couple of years, right?
Couple of years, the
What's
debt,
that?
the
The,
debt
the
service.
debt service, when the bond gets paid off.
2027.
Street?
The Main Street one? Yeah, but then, of course, we'll have another one.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
by then we'll
Yeah,
be,
but then we'll have this one, but that,
well, and my guess is
another-
we will also have another infrastructure.
Right,
right, we
So-
will, we will.
And it will probably be larger than what,
So I don't. Anybody have any other thoughts?
I mean, one of the things, we could do is, one, I mean, we can kind of go back, Derek and I can sit down and look through general government administration and say, geez, is there any way, well,
You guys, it's tight already. Okay, I'd say leave in the part-time clerk.
Yeah.
Vacation buyback
Yeah.
and make Sue whole.
yeah,
I don't know about oil from Emerson. Karen, I don't know. if
Hey, how long have these
we're-
heat pumps been in here now? Does that show?
they've been.
So was there any savings and did it just make it up on electricity? That's the big question.
Yeah, well, that's, I know that electricity goes, heating.
I mean,
oil
we
goes down.
continue,
Right.
and electricity's gonna go up.
so I mean, we continue to sort of spend,
That's with what's going on, I mean, it's this tariff, so the room,
Yeah, I know,
Canada's already coming back.
there, this is.
I mean, for 24, we ended up, and in 24, we did have the heat pumps the whole time, I believe. And we bought we bought 1,674 gallons of heating oil. So I mean, our heating oil has not been, but I budgeted 2,000 gallons at $4 because I don't know
Just in
what
case. No, I
happens
thought you-
to the
yeah.
price. So I mean, that's not a huge,
Well, and the thing is you did it at
Buffer.
4, it could be
I mean,
550.
right now, we're in the
Correct.
we're in the threes now,
So
right?
I think
Right.
that's fine, let's,
I mean,
legal, can we take anything off legal? I think I.
What do you budget for that? I don't wanna scroll up because I'm working.
25,000.
At the end of the year, we don't-
that's not a lot.
It's not. I personally don't
We leave it.
think
Okay,
you wanna
let's leave it.
go.
Yeah,
The one thing I would say that I did in some of my other towns is eventually with legal, I did stop bringing it down, but I stopped putting it into a legal reserve account where the board was able to tap into whenever we got into something.
So that
Then
every
it's not-
year that it doesn't, right? So
Right,
if
so
there's
then
any money
we would
left
slowly
over at the
bring
end of
it
the
down
year,
from 80,000, let's say, to like $20,000 a year. Cause I had I knew that the 25 or whatever it was would pay for my normal legal questions. But then the lawsuit, like war chest, and people used to see the little war, cause they go, we're gonna sue you, and I'd be like, I got a war chest of $150,000, that's what it's there for. So you really wanna do it, we're not gonna cower, we're going to defend ourselves to the end, and then they would be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that.
Right now, anything that's left over at the end of the year goes into surplus.
You're right.
Is that right? So we can change that and kind of keep it just.
well, we have to
Yeah,
move,
eventually.
it.
Right.
We would have to move it into our reserve accounts, take it out of general government, move it into reserve accounts.
But we could do
And
that
have
so
it
that it
there.
doesn't go into surplus.
So
I mean, it's more,
Karen, you're not quitting this year, right?
Everything's. more
they
work.
don't, well, and the other thing is that I don't know that the idea, I mean, really, the idea behind budgets is that, if you have something left over, it does go into surplus.
Right.
And if all of a sudden you're making all of your accounts reserve accounts, then you're really not, setting up anything to go back into savings. I don't know. I mean, I'll throw out, there's $5,000 more between education courses and dues and mileage this year than there was last year.
Well, I was thinking the employment advertising is another spot too, like, we bunched that up to 3,000 from 500, and maybe we don't go as high up with that. So I was saying, you're not planning on getting done, so that search,
And I can,
you know.
Well, what we, I think what we said is that
It was for like the
Right,
consulting stuff.
if we hire, like, when we hired town manager, it was what, 6 or 7 grand, and you're thinking that if we have. You know, I mean, if there's 3 positions in the next 5 years that may need to be looked at, we may need to. Sort of save up for that, but
right, no, I.
it
I
can be-
Agree, we can, but I. maybe
yes,
next
it could,
summer,
it could
this
come
year,
down,
we can
yeah.
Take it down.
These.
They're small things, I know they're tiny amounts.
I mean, the thing is, if you took out $40,000 from the budget, it's a
That's
frac-
what-
Well, but that's 1%.
That's 1%.
That's 1%.
That's what I was working with.
And the
was
only way to do
35,000
it is, right, the only way to do it is.
So that brings me back to my question. What number, what percent are we willing to, you know, like, if we're saying we're willing to live with a 20% increase, then we've got to cut, you know, what I mean, like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying 20%, I'm saying like, we should just decide,
What is,
this is the number, and then we say, okay. If we got $48,000.10 that we have to cut out of the budget.
Karen wants to know. What do you think?
That you guys are the
We-
ones, that you guys are the ones that the people are gonna be asking.
We already have a 6% school board increase. Right?
Mhm.
What if we look at the budget, like in terms of the number?
Yeah.
What if we look at it without the fire, without the 400,000, right? Take that out, and I don't know if you looked at this, Karen, like without that, what's the overall increase?
I can do that.
The budget, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
I think
what
that's
I'm
really
looking at
important,
here.
because if we can say, look. Everything else that we do to keep the town running
Mhm.
brings it up, whatever.
Right.
Maybe it's 10%, I don't know what it is, but that's,
Three.
it might
That's
look
good.
more reasonable, and then we say, and.
Right.
Because we're adding the fire department, we need to, that, I'm gonna guess, is why.
And also,
We have this other bump, and then the town has to figure out what to do about that, I mean, not what to do about it,
No,
but.
but
it helps
But Amy, I also think that there was another piece in that, when we present this. We say, okay, here's the budget for everything else but the fire department, here's the fire department. Before we talk about the fire department. We can say, listen, the fire department has been in effect underfunded for years and years and years and years. You know, they, you know, they're working in the building that doesn't even pass code. I mean, this day was coming. You know, everybody in town knew that when the fire department is modernized. That there would be a significant, I mean, from the moment I got to town, people were saying, okay, this is a big issue, it's coming. So anyone who has their eyes and ears open in town knew. That
Right.
there's a moment then when this is, we have to pay for all this.
And if we look at that, and we go back and look at kind of the other part of the budget, it might not be practical to try to get 400,000 out of the other aspects of the budget. We may be able to keep
Yeah.
carrying it back and trying to be as conservative as possible, but
Okay.
it may be that the town is being asked to make an investment, which is really an investment for,
It's an investment in our
it's not
safety,
just 1 year.
it's an investment in
I'm trying
our,
to compare it.
it's the cost of having a safe town.
It's public safety.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Although it
disagree.
still comes back to the fact of how, you know, I mean, if that's the case, then, you know, people may understand that. But it still doesn't solve the problem of people saying, okay, but with everything going on, I don't know that I can
Right.
deal with a 27% tax increase. When I don't know what's gonna happen with my own personal income
Exactly.
and.
Right, and,
Right.
you know, we can. After we're done paring this down, that may be what some of the voters decide, there may be, maybe, yeah.
I mean, but
It's hard to
listen,
Predict,
I mean, let's just say we have the bulk of the budget and then we have the fire. It may be that this all gets passed and this doesn't, you know, I mean, that people, you know, I mean, and then that would be really
That would
bad.
be
but
awful.
It would be awful, and I'm not suggesting that, but, you know, it is, you know, it's funny, growing up, my dad was president of the school board. And he used to say, the school budgets get a really bad rap because it's one of the few things that people can vote on. So when taxes are going up, they tend to vote down a school budget because they can't.
Bobby, did you have a comment?
This is a peanut gallery, and I'm just listening, and I may not be a very representative peanut gallery. I would only ask that when you bring it up, listen to the way it's gonna come up. It makes the fire department the scapegoat. It's not the way you
We
mean
don't
it.
want
No.
That's
And
true.
if you say, we got this piece, but what's really driving it is the fire department. Then all of a sudden, the same folks who said, we don't want a new fire station, we don't.
That's gonna give
all of a
them
sudden,
more.
Fire department doing it.
That's
If it came across,
That's,
we took on this obligation, we have it, and guess what the fire department could have asked for 200,000. We're paring it back because it's something that doesn't, shut up, right?
No, Bobby, it's so helpful.
because if we go into
We-
it and we say, you know, yes, we're asking for this 400,000, however, the fire department also gave back or offered to not do this and not do this and not do this.
We have an obligation.
Yeah, and I would say that and I like it,
Yeah.
that we have an obligation to fulfill the voters' mandate. That when the fire department was approved, when Battle Avenue was approved, and we're simply fulfilling that mandate. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank
No, thank you, Bobby. Bobby, when you've had to deal with very, very difficult budgets. This is the process,
But you go for the big stuff,
yeah,
you want a good to nibble around the edge.
I know it's,
You know, the sidewalk thing, as a founding member of the sidewalk committee. But you know,
I don't know,
maybe this is not the year that you do
Right.
maybe not,
Right.
maybe we don't, maybe. we
And
don't.
I think if we say those things, like, let's say we make that decision, then I think that is something that we can share with the town to say, this was on the vote, we had a listening session, we hear you. But.
But-
in
But when
light
it
of
came
other
down to it,
commitments, we just feel like we need to wait
Right.
because we can't throw everything onto the town at
Yeah.
this point.
And
And so
these
it's
are the
not
big
to
ones.
minimize the importance, but maybe
right,
delay a little bit.
And these are the big cuts that we've undertaken so that we didn't have this big number.
you know,
The before and after, this is where we were,
Well, if we don't do the sidewalk equipment and we don't do the striping, that's $50,000. So that's getting us close to 2%.
And you can also put those in separate articles and let the people decide, that way they've gotta know they're voting for additional taxes if they vote for it too. Of course, then if they shoot it down for that reason, then you know
Well,
that for the future too,
they
that.
have the opportunity on each one of those to turn it
But for
down.
the-
Well, that's
I
my
think
point,
it
if they're
should-
separate
I think you
articles.
either decide that this is something that the select board feels is important to move the town forward. Or the select board decide that, you know what, this is not the time for it, we think there's some other things that are a bigger priority.
Yeah.
I mean.
That's my-
I mean, if we
my-
advertise and not put it on the warrant.
Yeah.
Not put-
The only,
Well,
the only one that I'm wondering, and I think I made a note of it, is the Battle Avenue PFAS testing. Is that I said, do you guys want that the select board recommend, or do you just want me to leave that completely out? Because I think you guys just said, we'll have an article on the town meeting warrant for the town to decide whether they want to do that.
That extra people.
And I would almost suggest the select board not having a recommendation on that article.
Just have it.
Just
because
have
we said we
have
would
it there, because you said you'd have it.
And that was for the extra test because of the groundwater coming.
I mean, again, this is not a decision, this is just my, okay, so if we have these items on the ballot. The equipment for the sidewalk. The striping, I'm just saying we leave them out. Okay, we say to people. listen, we've trimmed the budget back. There are certain things that the voters wanted this year. Each of these items is just, let's call the thriving 1%. Let's call the, the side equipment's 2%, okay, and people vote on it, they say, okay, if by voting this down, you're saving 1.5%. By voting this down, I mean, I don't know how you would present that, but if somehow on the budget, we have it percentage wise, these.
I will tell you, people at town meeting, and I hate to say this out
Yeah.
loud, but there's a lot of people at town meeting who really don't put the connection between what they vote at town meeting and what happens on their tax bill.
Okay,
I will have people at town meeting who, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I want those, I want those. And then when they get their tax bill, they'll come in and they'll see me and they'll say, oh my God, Karen, what happened to my tax bill? Why did why did you make it so high? And I'm like, you were at town meeting and didn't you vote for all those things? Well, yeah, because I think they're a good idea. Well, where did you think the money was coming from? Well, I don't know. I mean, and I mean, some of these people are very smart people. I just don't think they put the connection there. So I really think a town meeting warrant is something that the select board has to take. What the select board thinks
Right,
is what should go before the voters.
right, I see it as a proposal of leadership to say, this is what we
Yes.
think is best in the town interest.
Yes.
but let's use an example of the sidewalk. We had all those meetings about the sidewalk. It was clear that people wanted the sidewalks clear. Okay.
You had that 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whenever it was, and it got turned down at town meeting. So I mean, you've been there,
Okay.
you've been there, done that, and I don't know, I guess I
Well,
don't know.
that's the thing, normally on something like that, I know we had a bunch of people in our listening sessions, but those are the people at the listening sessions, is that truly the desire of the entire town? Cause when it went to town meeting.
Yeah.
It got shot down, right? So
Yeah.
that's the question you have to ask, cause the special interest groups will come out to
Right.
support what they want, or those that have time. to
My
come to
other,
the
my
meeting.
other sort of comment is that, town meeting is gonna be a different date this year. I have had a couple people who have come in and saying, why is town meeting at this date? We're going away in June, I won't be able to be here. So there may be some people who typically would be present at town meeting who may not be.
Right,
And as you know, you can only vote if you're present at it.
right. And there will be other people that, yes, so I mean,
Yeah.
and they might be very much in favor of sidewalks or whatever.
Right.
Okay, if we take out, this is just
Go
quick
ahead.
and dirty,
Go ahead.
the sidewalk equipment for
Yep.
40, striping for 10.
Yep.
We take the fire truck reserve down to 50 and take out 150,000 from that. If we take out solar, we take out the 2,500 from rec for the back shore bash. And we take out half of the elm tree committee, we're at 217,500 savings.
So then, how many percent is that?
Almost,
7%, 6.5%.
Which just brings us less than 20, which is,
Over 20.
We're still at
Just over 20.
20 to 21.
27.4, we're taking 6 point something.
Still at
percent.
Are we meeting again tomorrow morning?
No, we have another budget meeting, the 31st, next Monday.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I have it in here for today and tomorrow, so.
I did too. Can we have that meeting at 4? On Monday, the 31st? I'm sorry, because I will not be here. I will
I'll
not be.
tell my husband he won't get birthday dinner, remember? I said that was his birthday?
That's right. Well, I can join by Zoom.
No,
I can join.
we got,
by
I mean, we've got, this has to be done.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can
I'll
join
just,
by Zoom,
no,
I
I'll
just
just,
can't
we'll do
No,
birthday a
don't do
different time.
Husband's dinner.
Well,
So this brings me back.
So we're moving.
What number do we want it to be under 20?
So, yeah.
I mean, like if we just did all the stuff that you recommended, and we're down now to 21.
Well, I know, it
Devs
needs,
and-
it has
Are
to be
we,
done.
do we wanna set a goal of 20 and squeeze out another, it's gonna be another,
I'd like it to be under 20%. I'd like to be.
Derek, what do you think?
Clear under 10.
Sorry, I was looking.
So
at
let's
the
say we're 27.5 right now,
schedule.
and I'm saying, what should be our target? Should we say, okay, as long as it's under 20, we're okay? Or do we want to, I mean, we're down to 21 something now.
Well, I don't know what your goal is. I'm going through the budget right now, scheming different ideas, which Karen won't like some of the scheming ideas because it's going to be a shell game, anything else, but I need to look at unassigned fund balance, what is one-time expenses, what isn't, that won't come back and hurt us twice as bad next year, what should be built into the budget so that we're not seesawing and that, you know, we give.
So are you saying,
I
Derek,
don't-
Derek, let me see if I
do
understand this.
not like taking money
I
out
know
of,
you
out of
don't.
surplus. I think that's you're taking money from your savings.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind that is to have that for an infrastructure project or a capital project that comes up or an emergency that comes up.
I know.
If
but
all of
I-
a sudden you're using your savings to pay for your operating, I mean, that's.
And that's why
That's
I'm
kinda like
not,
using
none
your
of it will
credit
come
card
out
to
of
pay for your
operating, it's
household
gonna be
expense.
one-time expenses, so that's what I'm saying is, so.
Okay.
If it's a one-time expense and we're talking about, oh, that's our savings account, well, putting it into a reserve account is still holding it into a savings account, it's just tagging it. This is what it's for, so it's still there as a resource, it just means it isn't just open for anything to pay for it, so that's what I'm saying on those are. Some of those one-time things may be able to be, but you don't wanna bring that balance down too low either, cause it's also an emergency fund, which we found out
Well,
last
and it's also
January,
part of
or
our
the
cash
January
flow
before
that we
last.
don't have to
And that's
borrow
another
from
thing.
tax anticipation notes
Right.
because we have enough in our surplus that keeps our cash flow okay.
Correct.
Davis, I know the answer to this, I'm just double checking. You've already added in the revenue that you know.
Yes.
I mean,
I did,
Did
and I
that
mean,
come, did that
I'll
offset?
be
the
honest,
debts?
one of the,
Right.
you know, I had initially, had our investment income was 300,000, that's what we've been doing. I lowered that to 240 in the last week. Looking at the market, I think that's a real, I mean,
How much money, what's the principal?
it's a 8 million, but we're doing CDs, we're doing long-term CDs, we're getting about 5% right now.
Which is great, you know.
It is, but it's actually in a sweep account CD thing, so it's not like our money
Okay.
is tied up, we sweep every single night, but I don't know what's gonna happen to those rates.
Mm.
And so that's why I have taken that down to 240.
Karen, I mean, I was at this meeting that I was at last week, there was a guy from the Federal Reserve, the economist gave gave that report. And he was saying that, you know, they've actually built in two small interest rate reductions this year. It could be 1/8 of a point, but interest rates are gonna go down. So, you know, CDs, you know, that you might be better off putting those in treasuries, you know, 6-month treasuries. But I don't think you can count on more than 4.5%.
Right.
Yeah, maybe even less, maybe 4.25.
Okay, let me just look at something really fast, Karen.
I will say, if you can't do it this time, then at the next meeting, so if you all have
Yeah,
little
I mean,
ideas and stuff,
I
I
think
would take it
everybody-
home, and next
I
week,
think
we have a
everybody-
conclave.
I think
We
everybody
don't
needs
leave
to
till
go
we do
home
it.
and come up with a list of things.
Okay, I can.
Yeah, doing it on the fly is hard, you know?
Karen, I will do 7:30 on the 31st. I will do it on Zoom. I will do 7:30 on the 31st.
I'd rather us all be in person, so let's do 4 o'clock instead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Meeting tomorrow scheduled.
We did have a meeting.
I did
tomorrow,
too, like,
Too, but.
I can be here tomorrow.
What
I mean, I
time
could
are
do
we
tomorrow,
gonna do it?
I could do tomorrow morning too, if we wanted to do another early morning one. I have a meeting at
That's what I
9 at the office.
What'd you have tomorrow?
I had tomorrow morning at 7, I had double 7:30s.
I had.
Cause I was like, the guys are just trying to screw with my back, but.
Yeah, that's fine for me.
Okay.
Should we do 7:30
Tomorrow morning? Yep.
Okay.
Okay. let's
So
just-
everybody has homework.
Everybody has homework.
Mhm.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget, you got a meeting today too.
Yes.
Yeah, you have one at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock today.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the storm coming in, I wanna make
Oh,
sure
that's
everybody's
right.
okay.
Once you
Yeah.
start,
They're talking about 4 or 5
Oh,
inches,
it's gonna
but it's
be-
over like 6 or 7 hours or
Yeah.
6 hours.
But I think we're here,
It's gonna start at
We may
noon.
get- Right, we may get rain down here.
Yeah, I don't know, it looks like there's more snow here than there was in Bucksport, the last weather one I looked at by a couple inches. I don't care, I got new tires, I can get home. It's mostly downhill, except for
Yeah, thank you.
a couple spots.
so here's what. I'm
It's the
gonna-
hills that bother
I'm
me
gonna
most.
email-
Alright, so we're gonna do tomorrow, I wanna make sure, I just pulled that out of my
I'm
agenda,
just
now I
gonna
gotta
say
put it
thank you
back
so much
in.
for your interest, to formalize the process. Letter of intent to Derek. I'd like to have a meeting within the next couple of weeks, do an initial meeting.
Right, right.
And then I won't even, I'll just put a couple bullet points, I won't even like write a charter or anything. We can do it together and then we can, vote for a chair and then write yeah,
So what we'll do is we'll put on the agenda for April 7th
yeah,
to vote on everybody for the housing committee.
yeah.
And because we now have, I think, okay, people who,
I gotta put that list together, when you sent me the other two, I'm like, oh, I gotta put that.
You're talking about the housing committee.
Yeah,
So Derek, I'm gonna send an email to everyone today saying that people need to send a letter, email to you expressing their interest to be on the committee.
cause she sent me a few names
Yeah, I
here
got all those.
sporadically, okay, you do have those
I have all
already?
the
yeah.
names.
I
And you know
got-
who's supposed to be on the committee who's actually in the housing, business? Tom Ashton.
Oh,
I called,
really?
Tom actually,
Is he gonna send in something?
no, I had a long talk with him because I knew that he's in the housing business.
Okay, so.
And so he wants to do it.
Good, okay, I think, thank you, okay, so, I'll be making, okay.
yeah, we got 2 emails from Ina, and actually she had came in and talked to me on Friday about 2 things. And I mean, I think that she just wanted you to be aware of them, not that you have to quote approve them. But one of the things, she's getting ready to resubmit the T-Mobile grant. I think you guys had wanted her to do that. One of the options in the T-Mobile grant is to join, what was it, Main Street America program, and you can join because they ask, are you a member of it? With the Main Street of America program, you can be a general member for $295. If you become a big member, you get a bunch of things, but if you do that, the general. My suggestion is that we could do that and use money from the ARPA funds, because I think we could substantiate it as a grant writing, that hopefully will help our.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna tell her, yeah, let's go
Yeah.
ahead and do that.
That's great.
The other thing is that, on the Project Canopy, they want to get somebody to come in and facilitate their meeting, and she ended up finding a couple different facilitators. I think Julia was great it helped her find a couple people. The one that she is recommending is Todd West. He lives in Orland. And he's less expensive than some of the other ones, and she just sort of thought that he would be a good fit for, for us to do that.
Is it covered by the grant?
And that there again, they put administrative money in there, so it would be covered by the grant. So I think she just wanted to,
Thank you, that's.
On that membership, what did we put into the CDD budget? Did we have an expense
We
budget
do.
there for something? So
for
I'm
this
thinking that
current
can
year,
come out
so
of
we
that.
put it out of that.
Yeah,
Right.
All right.
So at 4 o'clock today, we're doing the interview.
Interview.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you all, and I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whatever.
Karen, thanks for all your things.
Yeah.
Oh, very much. Thank you,
hey
Bobby.
Karen,
Thank you, Bob.
so hold on, let me shut this off and then I wanted to really quick, because it looks like you captured when I was looking at the articles. I think